Hello viewers and welcome to Panzer Campaigns Moscow 42. I'm your host Pew Choo Choo, and today we will be covering the getting started scenario present within Moscow 42. So, like last time where we covered Sicily 43, we're going to switch from the Mediterranean front to the Eastern front, and we're going to take a look at the Russian counteroffensive following Operation Typhoon. So with that kind of said, we're playing the Eastern Front, one of the Eastern Front games present within the Panzer Campaigns series, and we're going to be covering a few of the same things from Sicily 42, some of the same gameplay aspects, but we're also going to be taking a look at the some of the particularities on the Eastern Front as well. But before we begin actually playing the scenario, I feel like we really do need to talk about what the Panzer Campaigns series really try to accomplish and what type of games these are. So these are operational level war games, meaning that they're fairly realistic and they cover operational level warfare. Operational level warfare is slightly above the tactical level, meaning that instead of fighting the individual battles between squads, fighting to take over villages and stuff and such like that, we play as the officer which coordinates the battles. So, army men don't go from just battle to rest to battle to rest to battle to rest, right? You need somebody there to coordinate. So, once they take a town, what do they do now, right? And that's kind of where operational level thinking comes from. It's a really rather immersive setting, which I particularly enjoy. But before we get started, one thing that I should note is that these Panzer Campaign series of the Panzer Campaign series of games, each and every single one of the titles focus upon one particular operation, and with that kind of said, they usually come with a grand campaign of sorts. For Sicily 43, that obviously dealt with Operation Husky, the Allied invasion of Sicily, and for this particular title, it comes with two. This is the winter map for the Soviet counteroffensive following Operation Typhoon, and what happened during this time period is that, please note that there's like Smolensk here. What happened was that during the, following Operation Barbarossa, which was the Axis attacking the Soviet Union, what had happened was that the Axis launched a offensive named Operation Typhoon, which was essentially their push to capture Moscow. And as you can see, the map is absolutely huge. This is the maximum zoom level, so this is as far as I can zoom out of the map, and this is the maximum zoom level for the getting started scenario, and these are essentially equivalent. As you can see, the zoom level for the Grand Campaign map is just absolutely huge. What the Germans managed to do was that they actually managed to just get out to the outskirts of Moscow, and that was where their attacks had stalled. So following that, the Russians launched their own counteroffensive during December 1941, which continued into 1942, and pushed the Germans back. I think the Germans actually managed to get to the first bus stop right outside of the city, so it was on the city outskirts, right? So, yeah. In addition to the winter campaign here, the Soviet offensive, you actually also get a hypothetical what-if sort of scenario that would essentially cover the summer war in 1942 if provided that the Germans had enough resources to make a second thrust onto Moscow. So, going from there, today we're looking at a much smaller conflict, only covering a few different units, meaning that this scenario is definitely more manageable. For the Grand Campaign, you actually have multiple variants of it, where you only cover, like, say, half of the area that is present inside the Grand Campaign, so it makes it a little more manageable, having a lot of, like, smaller-sized scenarios, but still fairly big. Now, coming from this, I'll be doing this video in the form of a miniature, I would say a guided tutorial of sorts. So, going from here, this is what the game would look like if you had just booted it up for the first time. When you load up the game, you'll actually get this particular scenario started up, and you'll also get a guided manual, a little quick start guide covering this scenario in particular. This little quick start guide will teach you all the essentials that you need to play. Though I'm not going to be following this exactly to the letter. I'm going to be playing for the sake of winning and to really devastate these German forces protecting this line here, rather than just simply demonstrating the gameplay mechanics. So with that said, we'll be looking at the same gameplay mechanics, but we won't be following that guide exactly to the letter. So don't worry if something that wasn't necessarily presented in that happens in here. So the first thing that we want to do is that we want to switch on divisional markings, which will make it a little easier to identify what troops belong to what. And the second thing that we want to do here is that we want to look at how many victory points we need to win to finish off this scenario. So currently we're playing as the Soviets, and the Germans are playing the faction covering these victory points, and our objective is really to take these over. Ultimately, you'll see here that we currently have 0 victory points and we have 0 losses, and the enemy has 0 losses, but we need 200 victory points to win, meaning that what we need to do is that we either need to destroy enough German formations to win solely off of victory points gained by that, or we can start to cap off these victory hexes located here, and these highlighted hexes really. We can zoom in here into the 3D map mode, although this is very useful to visualize your battlefield, although I typically play on this map setting. So going from here, let us open up with a few moves and let's see what we can do. Before we do that, actually, we should probably take a look at what troops we have. Currently, we have the 55th Rifle Brigade, and we also have the 44th Rifle Brigade, represented by the unit with green counters, and the units with blue counters over here. And we also have assets from the 1st Shock Army with the pink backgrounds. You do need to know how the army structure connects to each other, but a very easy way to do that is that we can click on one of these individual hexes, or rather one of these individual hexes, then units from the sidebar here, and we can highlight them using the command, the hotkey Alt-O. What this will do is that it'll show the parent company for this particular unit. So for the 56th SMG company, these units highlighted in red are all part of one particular formation. In this case, the 55th Rifle Brigade. Although going from here, so say what do we want to figure out, say what the 55th Rifle Brigade is attached to, and what we can do here is that we can right click on these unit formations, or hold down right button, and we'll see here that it'll tell us who leads this unit, what this unit is, what they're attached to, and what their HQ units are. But that is that involves a lot of reading, and it's not necessarily too fast. So what we can do here is that we can click on the HQ for the 55th Brigade, do the right the Alt-O command again, and it will display all of the units on the map being highlighted in red, which actually coincides to what the organization for the 1st Shock Army is. So as you can see there, just going from the blue units here again, all of our units are part of the 1st Shock Army, meaning that all of these units have some multitude for combined arms operations, which is rather nice. Going from here, let's move and let's try to take these victory points. Now, I suspect that the Germans are probably protecting these points, meaning that we'll probably have to engage them in battle, and we'll probably have to take over these hexes. If we didn't, that would be a very, very boring bit of a gameplay now, wouldn't it? So what I'll do here is I'll get the 123rd Tank Battalion, and I will select it, and then I'll move it along the map by right-clicking adjacent hexes. And what I want these guys to do is that, because these KV-1s these are very, very heavy tanks, or BT-7s actually, these are fairly heavy tanks, meaning that infantry can't hit them very easily, and what we can do with them is that we can then maneuver them around the map, and we can use them to spot where the enemies are present. So it looks like we found 2 units present within the 6th Panzer Division here and here. It looks like the motorized infantry, just going off of the little picture present here. And, well, we are to move against them, and it looks like one of them actually occupies one of the victory hexes located here. So what I'll do from here is that I'll get the blue background infantry units, and I'll move them forward like that. The Germans will no doubtedly shoot upon our guys, and sometimes they won't. So they do get the opportunity to open fire on our guys, and we'll just move our troops adjacent to them so that we can begin brawling it out with the German troops here. Likewise, in the southern front here, I see that we have some of the rifle units from the 55th Rifle Brigade, and I'll move them closer to the villages as well, and we'll see what really happens with these troops. So, the enemy forces here have the opportunity to counterfire when we move our units adjacent to them. It looks like they shot our SMG company here, and it looks like it disrupted these guys. So it messed up with the chain of command. Now, these guys are fairly vulnerable to enemy assaults. So we have our guys, and we moved them forward, and we're starting to assault these locations, but we're probably not going to be able to do anything with these particular troops this turn. So what else can we do here? Well, we have artillery units represented by these little boxes with the little dots in them. So let's get these guys to actually open up on the German positions, and let's actually bombard the Germans by a little bit. So what I'll do here is that I'll get the artillery units from each and every one of these divisions to open up on their priority targets of sorts. How artillery works inside the game is that you do need a spotter for your artillery, provided that your artillery is set it up here and not within a direct line of sight. So what we've done here is that our infantrymen here can obviously see the Germans, which is right next to their hex, meaning that they can essentially call down artillery fire from their rear assets, such as these artillery pieces, onto these German formations, and that's what we've kind of done here. Now, we also have a few different other troops that we can move around, so let's get on started and let's get those troops moving and put in action. On the eastern front here, a specialty unit that you'll have are these Russian ski battalion, which are infantry units mounted on skis. So in the wintertime, these guys have a surprising amount of movement and flexibility. Though, the thing about ski battalions is that you need to deploy them for them to fight, because the notion of people fighting and shooting on skis is kind of silly. So they do need to obviously take those off before they do any heavy fighting. And how this plays in the game is that you have the travel mode indicator, which we can put on using the hotkey T. We're pressing this button up here. So what I've just done is that because these ski battalions can't move very far when they are in their deployed mode, meaning that they function as infantry, I've put them onto the skeet mode by converting them into travel mode. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to move them up here. Hopefully the Germans won't do too much damage, and we'll put our guys back into deployment mode. So next turn we'll be able to assault this German position. Likewise up here we will be doing this. Usually, in Sicily 43, what we typically use the travel mode to do is that travel mode is effectively getting your guys to march into a column, meaning that it's really rather helpful in moving across bridges and moving across roads, and it doesn't necessarily do very much inside the snow or inside the plains and the farmlands of Sicily. Although with these ski battalions, using the travel mode, we can put them on their skis and really mobilize them across the battlefield really rather fast. In the back here we have the 701st Gun Artillery Regiment. They have 24 guns, and it looks like they're stockpiled with ammo, so they can fire quite a large amount of ammunition before they stop, meaning that they will have much more bang to whatever they're firing, and we'll get them to hit one of the German strong points right over here, and we'll bombard that twice. Looks like that caused 14 casualties, and we'll move a few units up just ever so slightly. And that will effectively be the end of the first turn. So what we'll do here is that we will disable fast AI processing. We will give the game a save slot to use, and we'll proceed as follows. So now the Germans will take their turn, and they will try to fight off our advancing forces using whatever guns that they can. Typically, the Germans here, they will have better units for shooting at our troops at long ranges, although we will function better at assaulting the enemy in close quarters combat, just due to the sheer amount of Russian people that we have. Now, so as you can see here, we're gradually taking losses, and we're gradually fighting the Axis back with whatever fire that we have. And what I can do here is that I can enable fast AI processing to get it so that we can skip most of the combat resolution here and get this to go fast, because we don't necessarily need to know exactly how many losses we are dealing and how many losses we're receiving. So then that gets to this point in the game. Let's see here. Where at this point we have a few units that have been shot up, some of our units have taken losses, and some of our units were disrupted during the enemy turn. But largely our troop formations are fine, and we can then begin the actual assault onto these positions. So, like last turn, what we're going to do is that we're going to start off by dropping artillery onto the enemy, and then we are going to assault them. Now, there's two types of fire inside the game. You can hit your opponents directly using your standard attack, and to an extent your indirect fire, such as these artillery pieces. And there's also close quarters combat, which is simulated by assaults, so stuff like SMGs and stuff. What we've just done here is that we've laid on artillery fire onto these two positions, and that is classified as indirect fire. What I'm going to do here is that I'm going to get the tank battalion to open up with their tank cannons firing directly at the enemies, although with only 6 tanks, this probably isn't going to do much against enemies hidden inside those houses, or rather inside that village complex. Now, the third type of assault comes from our infantrymen and tanks on occasion assaulting positions, meaning that they charge right up next to them, and that's really where your tactical battle technically begins at. So these guys, they charge up and they essentially try to deal with the individual houses and buildings and stuff and such like that. That is the tactical representation. We have a few units here that we can use to assault, and well, let's take a look at them before we do that. So again, going to the units listed on the sidebar here, if I hold down the right mouse button, we can see some statistics about them, and the things that we want to look for the most is their attack values. So for example, if we go to our tank unit, which I believe shows all of them, the BT7 is the last unit present here, it has a hard attack of 3, a soft attack of 6, and assault value of 9. What this means is that if we use this particular unit to attack tanks and stuff, it'll have a attack value of 3. It'll use a value of 6 when attacking infantry and stuff like that. But one of the more important things that we are looking for in this particular scenario is the assault value. The assault value effectively means that you're trying to take the hex by force. And one of the things that we should note is that all of these ski battalions, they have a range of, or rather a value of 4 for their attack values, but they have an assault of 20, making them really rather effective in the fight when it's really close quarters. And with that kind of said, we can get these guys to make a direct assault onto this location, and we'll get some of our infantrymen to help out from the 44th Rifle Brigade here. So we'll make an attack there, and once you have your attack kind of set up here, what you do is that you hit the assault resolution button up here, and this will give you the results for what has happened in that hex. So as you can see here, we lost 38 men, and the Germans lost 132 men, meaning that was a fairly successful assault, largely coming from the fact that we had ski battalions here with their massive assault values. So if I were to compare that to this, let's see, let's find a group of rifle brigades, and let's get them to shoot at the defenders using their rifles, which have a value of 5. So if we shoot at these guys present inside this force text, you'll see that it does 14 men damage, provided that we combine both of these units. So as you can see, the values aren't that high anymore. Going from here, you'll notice that one of our troops of men have just been disrupted by enemy fire, meaning that there was